Jack Posobiec, we're back here. Just, I'd rather be talking about anything else today, anything else under the sun. But we're here because I know this is what Charlie would have wanted. And I know that for once, Charlie Kirk is in the audience right now. And Charlie Kirk is watching all of us. I said in the beginning of the show, I'll say it here again. I know what Charlie's message would be to everyone asking, what do I do next? What do I do next? It's very simple. Charlie would say, it's your turn now. I want to bring back on Tyler Boyer, one of Charlie's closest associates, and Tyler, we were just kind of talking about that, about how, personally, as many things that Charlie was interested in and involved in, even non-political things. Andrew and I were talking about the biohacking, earlier, that he was just fascinated with that and lived it, and theology, that he was a simple. He had this tenacity and this ability to make the complex simple, and just in so many realms outside of the things that you see or that you know him for. That's just who he was, no matter what he was doing.
Yeah, and that's really the legacy of Turning Point USA. I mean, we talked about this all the time. Most people don't really connect the dots on this, but when we came onto the scene and really Charlie started Turning Point USA, there were no battle tanks. It was all think tanks. And we used to talk about this point, which is, there's all these think tanks out there making things really hard to reach for the average American, a little bit overcomplicated, a little bit over convoluted. And there just weren't enough battle tanks of people going out and fighting the good fight, or just as you said, is making the really smart things, the complex things, simple, so that the average American could understand them, that the average American would want to understand them, that they would want to engage them. This is the whole thing, is like, this is what Charlie died doing, was this very issue. I mean, you listen to Charlie, and you and I both know Charlie better than just about anybody. Andrew, who was on earlier, and there's a number of us in our senior team at Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action. But people knew Charlie as a genius. You met Charlie, you talked to him. He was an absolute genius of a man, but he spoke and broke things down so simply and so easily so that everybody could really approach it. And that's what's made politics approachable. That's what's, I think, has got so many young people through Turning Point USA involved. It's what's got so many young men being able to embrace the qualities of what the Christianity that Charlie professed, and that's what he would want everybody to know him by. But his activism as well, being a dad and being a husband, those things are not complex things. But the world is complicated, and the challenges are complicated, but the application of those things is really simple. And I think that's the memorial that we'll have for Charlie forever. And that I hope that my dear friend that I have known for so long, since essentially the beginning of time. I was joking with Benny Johnson earlier today that we had to convince Charlie to start his Instagram. And you wouldn't believe that, knowing Charlie today, of how, Speaker Johnson just said he dominated all these mediums. Rush Limbaugh didn't dominate social media or have a full 501c3 or C4 and employ thousands of people. The man did everything. He did it all. But he made it so simple for everyone to approach and be able to engage with. And I will greatly, greatly miss him for that, because there's no one that is like Charlie. There's no one. It's not likely we'll ever encounter someone that's able to do all those things.
No, and I agree with you that there was something timeless, but also outside of time about Charlie. There was just, he just didn't seem to be of this era. And I'm not even sure what era he belonged in. He just, the way he fit in the world, but also was different from anyone else that you would meet. I mean, it's just, God knew what he was doing. when he made Charlie, God gave him assignment, and now God's got him on another assignment, and that's how it is. And he's up there with Rush now. And
Well,
well, Tyler, let me ask you this though. Charlie, obviously, he's been building Turning Point USA, building Turning Point Action all of these years. He built these institutions to last, and
yeah.
I always got the sense, I never really talked to him about this directly, but I always got the sense that he wanted Turning Point USA to be separate from him in the sense that it would always go on because it was always about the students. It was always about
Well,
the chapters, and the chapters were constantly changing. And what does that look like from your perspective?
well, and we talked about that all the time. Having the honor of being COO of Turning Point USA for many years, and now Turning Point Action, and having hired and worked with thousands and thousands of people. Uh, the greatest legacy that Charlie Kirk has is that he infused his energy, his resilience, his uh, constant need for improvement for the conservative movement. Because when we really start engaging on many of these things, the question was, wow, why doesn't the conservative movement have good enough events? Why aren't we attracting enough people? We got to do it bigger and better. Why is there no one that has a real legitimate field program and operation that supports young people? We got to do it bigger and better. Why is there no 501c4 a political operation that's out there actually, doing it the way that the left does it with community organizers? And we got to do it bigger and better. And just each and every one of those things. And that's not even touching all the individual unique things on the media front, the podcast front, the TikTok obviously is the second largest voice on TikTok next to Donald Trump this year. And I mean, you're just talking about a monster of a human being, irreplicable, that desire to fight and work. And, I was just talking about this as well. It's just like one of the quotes was, don't care, keep working, don't care, work harder. We talked about hating to lose, how devastating the 2020 election was, and how horrified we were to learn that there wasn't enough work being done on the political side, which caused Turning Point Action to really, kick into gear. Really following in the lead up to 2022 and following 2022 for 2024. I mean, that was really the first time anyone's ever done anything like we did, was throwing the kitchen sink at
Well,
the
well,
thing, and Charlie was leading from the front on that. And
well,
there's just
it
no
was,
one
and
else.
I could tell because, of course, there's that election night live stream, 2022. It's me, you, Charlie, Andrew was in and out, and remember the
Blake.
batches, another batch is
Yep.
in, another batch is in, another batch is in. And I remember doing the math till late in the wee hours. And I can remember the moment where Charlie just turns to me. I don't even know if it was on air. And he just turns to me sitting there and says, Jack, we need to start doing ballots.
Yep.
And you could just see it in his eyes. He said, they won this thing with ballots, and we need to start doing that. And I could tell just in that moment, again, very simple, that he
Yep.
took this whole complicated thing and he had figured it all out. And he was doing the math. You could see him doing it furiously, just scribbling away and doing the math in real time, like Rain Man, And he said it's all ballots, and so we need to chase
Wow.
ballots. And I could tell in that movement everything that was going to happen in that moment, everything that would happen between then and 2024, and that's exactly what happened. And he knew that he
I,
had you to execute it.
I was talking with his sweet wife, who all the prayers we need to be praying unceasingly for Erica and his two sweet babies. Um, that I just was talking with her about this yesterday. The look on Charlie's face when he would figure something out, he kind of give you the
Yeah.
oh look, and I'd seen that a million times because I've been in these rooms. Oh, sorry about that. I've been in these rooms with Charlie, fighting these battles and these wars, and we'd figure out the problem that existed, and then try to come up with the solution, and then applying the right solution, and going and getting the donors to pay for it and work towards it. and then we build it, and then we do the next thing, and then do the next thing, and then the next thing, and it never stopped. And
you
we'll
could
always
and
remember
that was
Charlie
Charlie's
for that.
thing. It was just, what are we doing today? What are we doing next? What are we doing next? Who's next? It's our turn next. Right back. Charlie Kirk Memorial.